Hei alle sammen, og velkommen til dette webinaret her i dag med oss i Viskits, og da i samarbeid med Google. Jeg heter Cecilie, og er ansvarlig for Viskits i Norge. Og webinaret i dag, det vil handle om da GSEFI, som er da forkortelsen for G Suite Enterprise for Education, og hvordan man da kan bruke dette i både norske skoler og kommuner. Vi har jo vært heldige igjen og fått veldig mange påmeldte til webinaret vårt, så igjen så synes jeg det har vært litt spennende å se hvor dere er fra. Så skriv gjerne det i chatten til høyre. Her kan dere også skrive spørsmål løpende som vi kommer til å svare på slutten av webinaret. Så da vil jeg egentlig presentere litt kort hva agendaen er for webinaret. Først vil vi starte med å ha en kort introduksjon av hvem vi i Viskits er, for dere som ikke vet det. Deretter vil Simon, som da jobber som lead for GSEFI, altså Google G Suite Enterprise for Education, forklare litt om hva egentlig den Enterprise-modellen er. Så vil min gode kollega Arnold, som også jobber som Delivery Manager i Viskits, både for Sverige og Norge, vise litt mer om hvordan funksjoner i Enterprise-modellen fungerer, og hvordan man kan bruke da dette blant annet i undervisningen. Og helt til sist så vil vi da ha en spørsmålsrunde, og som sagt er det bare om det er noen spørsmål til oss eller til Google, så gjerne bare still dem allerede nå, og så vil vi svare på dem i slutten av webinaret. Så litt kort. Litt kort, hvem er vi i Viskits? Vi er blant annet Google Premium-partnere, har flere enn 1 million brukere nå, med da kontor i Norge, Danmark, Sverige og England. Og vi vokser jo fort, og vi har blant annet kjerneprodukter som er da lese- og skrivestøtteverktøy. Kanskje noen av dere har hørt om det, blant annet AppWriter og Text Analyzer, men vi har også produkter relatert til det å Go Google, som vil blant annet si om det man trenger hjelp i forhold til administrasjon, om det er oppsett, synkronisering, relatert til det for eksempel G Suite for Education, eller da G Suite Enterprise for Education, som vi skal snakke om i dag, eller for eksempel lisenser for Chromebooks eller kurs, så har vi da mange muligheter vi kan hjelpe til i forhold til dette. Så det var litt kort om oss i Viskits. Da tenker jeg egentlig at jeg vil gi ordet videre til Simon. So welcome Simon, and thank you for taking your time to join this webinar with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Great. Well, it's really nice to be here, and thanks to the team at WizKids for inviting me along. Thank you everybody who's on the call today. Really appreciate your time and your interest in G Suite Enterprise for Education. I am the lead for G Suite Enterprise for Education across EMEA, so I'm really pleased to be able to walk you through, give you a good overview of the product and what it means in this climate. Before we dive in, I think it's worth just pointing out well, it is really important to note that Google does remain committed to education. So although we have this wonderful upgrade to G Suite Enterprise for Education, of course, G Suite for Education still remains free, and it's still a product that we'll be updating, as you'll see later on when we go through Google Meet, which is a really good example of this. So we'll continue to add features to G Suite for Education, and you know, we have this great upgrade option to G Suite Enterprise for Education. So if you see the value in the additional features, the premium features, and most importantly, if they make sense for your learning institution, that upgrade option is there, and that's what we'll be talking about today. So let's take a little look at G Suite Enterprise for Education, or as already been mentioned, GSEFI, because when you say G Suite Enterprise for Education 500 times a day, GSEFI becomes a better option. So we might stick with GSEFI for the remainder of this presentation. Okay, so GSEFI is an upgrade on your current G Suite environment. And you could break it down into two major categories, really. As you can see here on the screen, you've got security and admin controls. I'm going to go through some of these features. And you also have teaching and learning tools. So for the security and admin side of things, we have some major features: the security center, the dash, the health page, the investigation tool, advanced mobile device management. We'll go through some of this in a little bit more detail in a moment. And of course, rolled into that, we also have the data and insights you can gain from an upgrade to G Suite Enterprise for Education. So that's the integration with BigQuery here. Other tools like Cloud Search, and data regions, features like data regions, which we'll discuss. And then from a teaching and learning side, of course, we all know about the VO Meet conferencing tool, Google Meet. We will talk a little bit about that and what's available to Giuseppe users. And we'll also touch on another really powerful tool, Originator Reports, which is our anti-plagiarism tool. But before we walk through some of these product features, I just want to pause for a moment and reflect on why we're really here today. It's not just about a show and tell. You know, what I really want you to think about is, why is this product relevant to you right now? We all know the effects COVID-19's had from a global perspective. You know, there's been mandated school closures across the world, with over 188 countries shutting down all schools. It's been an impact of 1.5 billion students, and I'm sure you felt it in Norway as well. And really, what this means is it leaves the education leaders like yourselves with big decisions to make when we find ourselves in this hybrid learning environment, which is absolutely here to stay. And most education leaders like yourselves are trying to work through multiple issues, whether it's about how we handle our data and our security, and how do we protect our users. You know, how do we maintain exceptional distance learning abilities as well? How do we monitor and better control and tailor our usage of digital online learning? So with all of that in mind, you know, when we ask the question, what is G Suite Enterprise for Education? I'll tell you what it's not. It's not a single solution for just one of your digital concerns, of which you have evidently many right now. G Suite Enterprise for Education is really a raft of solutions to really help you get through the time that we now find ourselves in, and really take you beyond, you know, into the future. It's really the next step with Google when it comes to education. So let's move forward and talk through some of this. And I just want to visualize what the upgrade looks like here. That's what this slide's all about. So you can see on the left-hand side, we have G Suite for Education as you love and know it there. So you can see all the collaborative suite there, Gmail and Drive and Classroom and Docs, Sheets, Forms, Sites, assignments, for example. And you can see some of the inbuilt control as well that's in the top left-hand corner there. So things like data loss prevention and security key management and the alert center. These are things that already exist for free within G Suite for Education. And on the right-hand side, you can see what you get in addition to everything you've already had access to in G Suite for Education. So the right-hand side is a bit of a snapshot of the key moments in Giuseppe there. And you can see there's a lot rolled into the security side of things, which we'll go through in a moment as well. And of course, there's the teaching and learning. So let's get started with some of the security and admin controls, talking about enhancing the security, visibility, and control, and also how do we do more with data and insights, which is very relevant right now, I think. It'd be interesting to hear what you have to say for that later on when we have a bit of discussion as well. So here are the major security and control features: the security health page, the security dashboard, the investigation tool, and advanced mobile device management. I'm going to walk through some of the benefits of these on this deck here. So we'll start with the security health page. And this is really, it's a page to get actionable recommendations, search your security policies, and support articles to make informed decisions and solve potential risk areas. So if you think about this page, it's a place for your IT admin to navigate. Maybe you're an IT admin on the call and you navigate to the health page to really understand, what do I have to play with here in my admin console from a security perspective, from a policy perspective. And there's a checklist. It'll either little checks on the side of all these policies that will light up green or gray. And green if you're adhering to Google's best practice when it comes to these policies, and maybe gray if you don't have these policies, certain policies implemented. Maybe you don't wish to implement some of them because they just don't suit you. But if you want to find out more about them from that health page, you can click into support articles, learn more about what would happen if I switch this policy on for my domain or for an organizational unit, for example. It's a really, really helpful page to work through as well. So a good taste of your security posture, a really good navigational tool as well. Then we move to the Security Center dashboard we mentioned before. So this is your go-to, everyday go-to dash. Comes pre-built with really great visuals, and it helps you investigate, see external file sharing metrics. Basically, it gives you visibility on what's happening in your domain across the usage as well. And importantly, it's the place where you'll detect threats in real time. And I think that's what I really want to get across here. So let's use an example. Let's imagine you're an IT admin and you've come in, it's Monday morning, you've got your cup of coffee, and you take a look at your security dash, and you see in your spam folder, just one of the folders that's already built in by default, there's a bit of a spike there, and that looks a little fishy, and you want to investigate that. Well, you can. With a click of the mouse, you can launch an investigation on that email. You can dig into the email and understand, is this a cyber threat? Is this an attack? Lodge a reason for actually digging into the actual email contents, because everything's audited. There's a trail for everything, which is really important. And sure enough, you discover that this is a phishing attempt, because we know that 91% of all cyber attacks are phishing attempts. And this phishing attempt has gone out to, let's just say it's gone out to 600 of your students' inboxes. Right then and there, you can make a decision within a minute, within seconds, about what you want to do with that information. You could decide to flag it. You could decide to select all of the inboxes that email has gone to and just immediately delete the threat, which is wonderful. And then you take your first sip of coffee for the day, and it's still hot, which is a great result. So that's one reactive way to utilize this feature, this investigation feature tool, I should say, that seamlessly integrates out of the dashboard. What else can you do with that? Well, you can also proactively use that information to now think, well, great that I've dealt with that threat. What else has this bad actor been up to in my drives? And what else have they been kind of exploring or getting their hands into? So you can start to launch further investigations around this. So a very powerful security tool that a lot of our customers find once they've started using it really difficult to not have it in their arsenal of security defense. And finally, we have advanced mobile device management. So this is about ensuring students and educators have devices with preloaded approved apps with the help of advanced mobile device management. So when we think about this, probably the biggest update I want to share with you on this is that, yes, you can roll out policies and really secure devices for iOS, for Chrome OS, of course, for Android. But you can also roll out these policies to Windows and Windows 10 devices within your domain. What does that mean, really? What it means is you can bring all of your devices you might be using within your domain under the one umbrella. So you can be looking after everything from the admin console now, which is really nice. If you're an IT admin listening, I'm sure you'll appreciate what that means for you. Moving on to the data and analytics, I just want to touch on this. So reports of Gmail logs and usage data. So what we're talking about here is through Giuseppe, you'll have deep analytics on Gmail log data and usage data within your domain. So really, the story here is that you have integration with BigQuery. You send all this data up into BigQuery. You can have that pulling down daily, and then you can have a look at that information in an analytics tool. So maybe it's Google Data Studio or another analytics tool, third-party analytics tool that you like to use. Doesn't matter, it will sync. And you can also sync that information with other information systems as well. So, how is that useful? Maybe you want to understand the usage and the engagement within your domain, but you also want to look at how that correlates with maybe some of your HR decisions or some of your finance figures as well. So you can sync all of that and get a really, really great holistic view of what is going on digitally. And we understand this is more important than ever as we move further and further into the digital age, especially with teaching and learning. It's important for senior management teams and for all teams, for teachers, for IT admins to understand what is going on in my domain. What does the engagement look like for this department versus this department over here? So very, very useful feature that a lot of our customers are gaining a lot of usage of. And we're building out these dashboards as well. So I should say we're building out templates within Google Data Studio specifically for this use for education, so that our customers that are using this integration can just can basically just go to these pre-built templates and deliver these digestible insights. Because it's one thing to have all the information at your fingertips, but I think we've all experienced being a bit overwhelmed with information, and unless you can find meaning in it, what's the point of just more data? So it's really about capturing the insights and what that means for your learning institution, and being able to then share that with your team and move forward and make great informed decisions on that information. I just moved to data regions. So this is another functionality available within Giuseppe. Data regions, I'm going to call this out immediately, it's not a solve for GDPR if you're thinking that you're not GDPR compliant, for example. Data regions is basically, it's an option. It's your prerogative to have this option. So take a step back. With Google, all of your data at rest is encrypted and chunked across all of our global data studios, as you can see in the slide here. It's illustrating. But with data regions, you can say, you have the choice to say, well, actually, I'd like to keep all of that data here in Europe, in the data centers located in Europe. You could also opt to keep it in the US. I'm pretty sure everyone on the call would prefer to keep it in Europe, but it's an option. Or you can just leave it by default and have it how it is right now, chunked out across the global data centers. So it's really a customer prerogative. Some of our customers like to have this option. One use case is universities that have maybe sensitive information they want to retain. Another use case would be schools that just decide that this suits them. It's more practical, and they would like to retain the data in Europe if they had the option. Cloud search, and I'm just spinning through the functionality. As you can see, I'll probably pause here and just mention there's a lot in G Suite Enterprise for Education. There's a lot of functionality. Cloud search, what does this solve for? So really, this is solving the problem of how do I get across my information as efficiently and intuitively as possible. And you might think, Simon, it's pretty easy to find my information in Google. You know, we use Docs, we use Gmail and Calendar. I can search for things pretty easily. That's true. You know, when you're within the native tool, it's true. But across your domain, if you want to find some information really quickly, instead of having to navigate there, this is what Cloud Search can do. So it will help you search across your whole domain. So imagine Cloud Search is like your own personal Google search for your domain. And you can tailor it, of course, to the users or the organizational units within your domain as well, for any IT admins out there wondering how far can we take this tool. So one great example would be a lot of our customers like to build out really useful sites with a lot of amazing information repositories stored in sites. But maybe you just want to get to it quickly without going to sites and navigating through 5 or 6 screens. So you could just search for that information and up it would come in your cloud search bar. So really useful. Taking it a step further, which is something we always like to think about at Google, how do we make this technology proactive? How do we take it to the next level? I'll probably just point out one aspect here, which is assist cards. So I've got this switched on myself. So basically, this is Google's machine learning. It's helping you find things without you even going and looking for them. So imagine it's a Tuesday morning and you have a meeting, between the teaching staff every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. and you refer to a certain document. Google's machine learning will kick in and start to recognize that, maybe Simon, do you want to open up this document that you open up every single week instead of going and looking for it because you forgot to to attach it to the calendar invite. So really useful kind of assist cards to present information that you might find useful at that time when you need it. So really, this is about creating greater efficiencies. And our customers are really loving this as well. So we've covered off a lot of the security admin, the data analytics side of things, and now we'll take a look at the teaching and learning tools, expanding learning with video, which is Google Meet, and empowering authentic thinking with originality reports. So let's just jump in. So Google Meet, I know you're all familiar with Google Meet. What do you get from an upgrade to G Suite Enterprise for Education? So a couple of the major upgrades are listed on this slide here. You have the ability to access premium Meet recordings that save straight to drive. Our customers like this for a number of reasons. Some customers feel it's important for safeguarding. Some customers just want to retain those meetings because I'll give you an example. A teacher mentioned this to me once, and I thought it was quite a funny example. Said, I don't want to record a session on the Pythagoras theory every couple of months or every couple of weeks because that theory doesn't change very often. So maybe there are really great sessions that you want to just keep in perpetuity and just maintain. You can do that with obviously recording them. Larger meetings up to 250 participants instead of 100 within G Suite for Education. The ability to live stream out to 100,000 within the domain. Now, this is interesting because coming soon, there'll be out of domain capabilities. And I could just hear a lot of people say, thank goodness, finally, that's coming. I'm really excited to announce that. We'll dive into that a little bit more later on. And local dial-in to meetings as well, right? So instead of having to dial in to a Google Meet using a US number, which can obviously create large phone bills, which nobody wants, you have the ability to utilize local dial-in numbers, which is great. Aside from that, here are some updates about how Google Meet continues to evolve. Now, you may already be across some of these, but I'll just call them out anyway. So launching in October, which is already gone. Attendance tracking, so attendance reports, breakout rooms. We're going to get into that in a little bit more detail when I bring my good friend on from WizKids. Q&A, polling, all wonderful things that are available now. Custom backgrounds is available, but that's available for everyone. So you can see here the features with the asterisks at the end of it, and I bolded them, are the premium features that will be available to G Suite Enterprise for Education or just Cephi users. And the other features will also be available to everyone, which is great. Once again, show our commitment to education in general. So launching in Q4, for example, hand raising, that'll be available it's available now apparently. Temporary recordings is coming soon. Moderators controlling the start and end of meetings. Live captions in additional languages. These are just some coming to everybody, but we'll probably dig into some of these other premium features in just a moment. But first, I just want to jump to originality reports. So I'm just going to take a quick breather here. So originality reports, this is, if you haven't heard of this tool yet, this is our positive approach to plagiarism, if you can imagine such a thing. It's really important to point that out because when we were thinking about how do we create an anti-plagiarism software tool, which we know is important for our customers and our customers have been asking for, how do we approach it? And plagiarism is quite a negative, well, has a lot of negative connotations to it for obvious reasons, but it's been dealt with in a very punitive manner from a teaching and learning perspective. How do we kind of turn that into more of a positive learning experience? So the great news about this tool is all your students have access to this tool as well as the staff. So basically the students will run these reports. Say they're working on a piece of work, they'll have the ability to run a report which would check against the power of Google search, billions of sites and pages, the world's largest search index, we all know. And I think it's something like 40 million books, thereabouts. So fairly comprehensive. We'll check against that. And it will reflect back to the student any missed citations, any areas for them to, that are kind of a cause for concern. And the student will then have the opportunity 3 times to run the report and act on those flags coming from running the report. And then the student will be able to hand in their finished work to the teacher. Of course, an automatic report will be generated for the teacher as well to check against. So we believe that really turns this into a real positive learning experience for the student. I don't think any teachers out there want to be having to reprimand students unnecessarily if they can avoid it. This is a way to mitigate that. This is a way to reduce the workload for the teacher as well. And most importantly, a great learning experience for the student. Other things to mention, really important things to mention. Of course, we have languages that are available, and I've highlighted Norwegian. And I might touch on this. The reason we have Norwegian available in originality reports is because of customer feedback. There are a few customers really asking for it. And I was witness to this, working with the lead in Norway, Alexandra. I'm sure a lot of you have met her. She did a lot of hard work in the back end to make this available, but we listened to the feedback from our customers, and we've launched this. We're really pleased to do that for Norway, of course. Another thing coming soon to originality reports is the ability for you to not just check against the power of Google search, but to build your own repository in your domain. So that's going to help mitigate any copying between students that might go on, and you want to obviously lock that down. Importantly, we'll never share your domain repository with another customer's repository because, of course, your information is your information, your data is your data, your students' data is their data, and it's important to protect that as well. Finally, you have unlimited usage of this tool through G Suite Enterprise for Education. So that's what you gain access to through Giuseppe, unlimited usage of this tool. You can access this through G Suite for Education already, but it's a capped limitation of utilizing the tool. And you can utilize this tool through assignments or Classroom as well. So very briefly, if you don't use Classroom, maybe you're using an LMS out there, like there are many, I think of a few large names like Canvas, Blackboard, Moodle. Well, assignments will integrate with all of them, and through assignments, you can then access originality reports. So we're all about integrating these solutions as well for you. I'm just going to go through a few of these exciting premium Google Meet features before handing over, and I appreciate your attention. I appreciate you staying with me, but really excited to now have launched Q&A. So within Google Meet for Giuseppe users, you have the ability to access Q&A. So students can ask questions, they can upvote questions. This is extremely useful for a teacher. Imagine you have 30 students that are all asking if they can get the notes after the class. They can, instead of asking all of that individually, they could just upvote that question, and then the teacher could, or the lecturer, or whoever it is in charge of the class could act on the priority questions. Any questions that aren't checked off or answered will be sent. This information will be sent to the Meet owner after each event. So a Meet session. So the teacher could then follow up on those questions that maybe they didn't have time to answer in the class. Instant feedback with polling. This is kind of like the reverse sense check from the teacher's perspective on the students. Really, really useful. And especially when we think about a distance learning environment, how do we stay engaging? How do we really get across our students? How do we know where they're at in the class? So they can launch these polls. Again, the information that is secured will be sent at the end of every meet, automatically sent in an email to the Meet owner. So really, really useful for the teachers. And finally, breakout rooms. I don't talk too much about breakout rooms because I think we've got a pretty exciting demo coming up. But we're really pleased to have launched this, the ability to be teaching in parallel and to break up that classroom, just like you would do offline, right? Breaking out into smaller groups. So we're going to get a demonstration on that in a moment. The last thing I wanted to mention, I say last thing, I've got 2 more things. Attendance tracking. So attendance tracking as well. No more time wastage here of doing a roll call. The insights that are gained will automatically be sent to a teacher at the end of the meet, just like Q&A and polling. Really useful. the email, the name, the timestamp of when that student joined and when they left, which is quite important as well, will be sent in a sheet. So I think we're going to get a look at that in a moment. The final thing, I will say this is the final thing, is allowing out-of-domain viewers to join live stream. So this is coming soon. Very exciting. So live streaming out to 100,000 is, yes, it's really useful in your domain for those larger events, but we heard from a lot of our customers that, hey, we need our parents to be joining, some of these school community-wide events that we want to host, and we need people outside of our domain to be participating. So we're really pleased to announce that we will be bringing that functionality in soon. Really appreciate your time staying with me on all of this. I'm going to hand over now to Arnold, a wonderful associate Arnold from WizKids, and he's going to take us through a few useful demos. Thanks, Arnold.
Thank you, Simon. Och tack till alla er som tar er tid just nu till att lyssna på det här webbinariet. Jag kommer prata lite kort om först vad vi som WizKids som partner gör i förhållande till GCFE. Vi har en tjänst som synkroniserar er data med G Suite och den kallas för EduLife Connect. Så sättet som vi tilldelar licenser för er då som admins behöver ni antingen manuellt tilldela eller använda diverse skript. Använder ni istället en synkronisering från oss så får ni mervärdet där licenserna följer med användare. Så blir någon suspenderad till exempel i domänet så sker den överföringen automatiskt med licensen. Så det är kort om det som jag arbetar med och det som jag kan hjälpa till med. Men jag ska också visa lite av de nya funktionerna som vi har i Google Meets och i Google Calendar. Glöm inte att ni kan ställa era spörsmål nere i chattrutorna så kommer vi att behandla dem i slutet av webbinariet. Då så. Jag tänkte först gå in och visa nya funktioner i Google Meet. Jag har uppe ett Meet nu, så det här är från ett lärarperspektiv. Allting kommer ske nu från ett lärarperspektiv. Så tänk er att jag sitter med elever och vill ha de här nya funktionerna. Ni ser min lilla ikon på det orangea lövet. Ett tips bara, ni har lite värdkontroller här som är extra. Där ni kan styra mycket av de här mötesfunktionerna så att ni får ett slutet rum så som jag har nu. Så det är en rekommendation. De nya funktionerna finns här uppe vid aktivitetsikonen. Då kan vi börja med avstämningar. Vilket är den här pollfunktionen som Simon pratade om. För att upprätta en ny avstämning så klickar jag där och ställer mitt spörsmål. Så det är ett sätt att styra en snabb poll. Vidare till parallelllukter, vilket då är populärt för lärarna som kör distansundervisning just nu. Och det jag tänkte visa nu är hur vi gör en sån här breakout room. Vi ställer in hur många rum vi ska ha. Av naturliga skäl så tar jag 2 rum nu. Jag kan ta och behålla mig själv i huvudrummet. Här har vi första rummet och andra rummet. Så nu har jag 2 rum. Och det som är så fint med den här funktionen är att vi kan flytta runt användarna. Och plocka ut dem också. Till exempel om det är någon som ska vara kvar där. Så att vi inte behöver ha det helt slumpmässigt. Och det ser ut på det här sättet, den här vyn. Så nu ska jag ha 2 rum. Och jag ser på ikonen här när de ansluter. Igen, det är ett lärarperspektiv så jag är kvar i huvudrummet. Och när de väl har accepterat så kan jag gå med. Gå in i rummet på det sättet. Ja, och prata med gruppen. Och nu ska jag skicka tillbaka alla till huvudrummet. Och det går så här fort. Där, jag hoppas att alla hängde med där. Det jag gjorde var alltså att dela upp Google Meetet i 2 rum, 2 olika rum. gick in i ett av dem och sen så skickade jag tillbaka alla användare till huvudrummet. Jättebra om man ska göra små gruppseminarier, om man ska ha diskussionsrundor och så vidare och så vidare. Har ni fler frågor om det här? Ja, fint. Det börjar rulla in lite frågor nu. Då kan vi gå vidare till spörsmål och svara apropå spörsmål. Vi kan ställa in så att användarna kan skicka in sådana här spörsmål. Den funktionen här, det är helt enkelt bara i form av socialt flöde, så vi kan ju göra frågor mer relevanta. Och ursprungligen så ser det ut så där. Är ett spörsmål besvarat så bockar jag för där. Och då vet jag om, och jag kommer få det i den här fina rapporten som ni snart kommer få se. Det är egentligen om funktionerna. Jag ska stänga ner det här. Och när jag gör det så kommer det automatiskt att genereras en rapport. Om vi går vidare till min mail så kommer den alltså skickas hit. Direkt till min mail. Och jag har varit så fint som man gör på matprogram att jag har förberett en sån här rapport så vi slipper sitta här och vänta på att rapporten ska komma. Det tar lite tid och framförallt nu när jag sitter och streamar. Hoppas ni har överseende med detta. Ja, jag öppnar upp. Den här rapporten är en attendance report och det som Sam pratade om. Så slipper ni alltså nu att hålla på med det här manuella arbetet när ni ska tilldela en ny närvaro. Så vi kan kolla på vad det är för data som har hängt med här. Ni ser att det är namn. Jag hoppas det är klart tydligt nog. Kanske. Ni ser på namn, ni ser på mailadress och ni ser hur lång tid de har anslutit, vilken tid de anslöt, vilken tid de lämnade. Så det här är jättefint och det är helt automatiskt. Ni får det direkt in i mailinkorgen. En fin lista. Vidare också ser vi också svar. Ni får en Google Drive-mapp med svar på de här frågorna som vi ställde i Google Meetet. På fråga, vem som ställde frågan, vilken tid den ställdes, om den var relevant och om jag har besvarat. Så det här var ju då den här fina checkboxen som jag hade som lärare. Så att jag vet att alla de här frågorna blir besvarade vid slutet av lektionen. Kolla istället på kolla istället på röstningsresultaten så är det bara enkelt. Jag kan se vem det är som har röstat, vilken som är mest populär. Det säger sig självt. Jag behöver nog inte nämna det här så mycket utan det är helt enkelt. Vi tar samma data som vi hade från de funktionerna i Google Meet, tar ut dem på ett Google Sheet. Jätte användbart faktiskt för oss som företag också när vi har interna möten så att allting är dokumenterat för oss. Och här är då Google Drive-mappen som jag nämnde tidigare. Gott nog. Det var alltså om de nya funktionerna i Google Meet och hur det samverkar med Gmail och sen ut till ett fint kalkylark. Allt sköts automatiskt. Nu har jag sagt automatiskt kanske 10 gånger. Men vi bygger mycket av de här nya funktionerna på att det ska vara enkelt för lärarna. Och såklart så vi backar upp Google när de släpper sådana här nya funktioner så att vi snabbt då kan ställa om i skolorna tillsammans med er för att göra den här distansundervisningen mycket enklare. Jag ska nu visa plagiatkontrollen i Google Classroom och det är väl det som är mest relevant just nu för lärarna. Och det är många som undrar hur de här går till och hur det ser ut. Så nu ska jag visa det. Nu har jag alltså en lärarvy. För er som inte har sett Google Classroom så ser ni mycket att det är ett flöde, närmare ett socialt flöde än ett vanligt LMS. Och som Simon nämnde tidigare så finns det ju också inbyggt plagiatkontroll i diverse LMS-system. Men just i det här webbinariet så kommer jag alltså att visa Google Classroom. Så kan först, nu har jag gått in på en kurs här och då kan vi ta till genomgång på de arbetena som jag har lagt upp. Så jag hade lagt upp ett arbete i mitt LMS och eleverna här, fiktivt, har lämnat in arbete, eller 2 stycken. Så nu ska jag gå in och kolla på en av de uppgifterna. Hoppas att ni ser. Jag öppnar upp dokumentet och det är alltså ett Google Docs som har lämnats in. De kan alltså inte redigera det så som det ser ut just nu. Plagiatrapporten kör här. Och ni ser titeln på plagiatrapport där. Jag går tillbaka igen. Ni kan klicka här. Den körs automatiskt också. Och då finns det 2 olika fönster här att kolla på. Första är det någon träff inom Classroom. Så är det någon som har arbetat eller lämnat in arbetet som ser samma ut. Så då kommer vi jämföra de 2 texterna. Just här fanns det ingen. Jag kan visa på en annan användare. Men det är alltså lokal och ni ska inte vara oroliga för att det här är något som delas utanför den här datan. Den datan stannar, den funktionen ligger inom Google Classroom. Vidare till Google Search så ser ni här. Den här texten är direkt tagen, då kopierad till nätresultatet. Och vi får då märket på att detta har skett. Och vi kan till och med klicka in på den hemsidan där texten är hämtad från. För att verifiera att texten motsvarar exakt det som den här Google Search-funktionen då anvisade på att det var fel. Jag hoppas att det här inte gick för snabbt just med Google Search-delen. Jag kan visa en gång till bara för att säkerställa så att alla hänger med. Jag klickar på den här. Ja. Öppnar upp plagiatrapporten. Och här till och med ser jag att texten är liknar det här första stycket en annan elevs arbete. Och då får jag öppna upp den för att se att det faktiskt stämmer. Men jag kan också lita på att funktionen fungerar. Så det här är den här träffen i mitt lokala Classroom-miljö. Och samma här. Här har vi också en nätträff på via Google Search. Ja, som sagt, det var en väldigt snabb visning. Det finns så många olika funktioner för lärarna att bruka just nu. Jag vill uppmärksamma också att det fortfarande går att få domänlicenser. Så med detta så lämnar jag tillbaka nu till Simon och Cecilia. Back to the studio.
Thanks, Arnold. Special thanks to Arnold for really bringing those features to life and doing a wonderful job of it. So we've covered a lot of ground today. Before we get into the pricing, I think it's probably a good time to just pause and think about all of the solutions that G Suite Enterprise for Education solves for. I'm sure a lot of you on the call, because you're interested in maybe just 1 or 2, which is fair. But like I said before, it's not a single solution. It really is a raft of solutions. So whether you need those solutions right here, right now, or they're going to be something that's more relevant in the next 6 months or the next 12 months or the 18 months, G Suite Enterprise for Education really represents great ROI when you think about the ground it's covering. And as we're moving more and more into this hybrid learning environment, how many of these solutions are you really going to need as well? So it's something for you to think about, something for you to consider. But let's take a look at the pricing now and how that works as well. So there are two ways to purchase G Suite Enterprise for Education. There's two options here. There's partial domain pricing, which we're going to focus on first. This option is for individuals, teams, and departments. So perhaps you just want a certain number of users to have access to the functionality. You can do that. There are caveats to this. And the price is obviously €48 per user per year, as you can see on the slide. Now, there is a minimum purchase of 50 licenses, 50 upgrades, or 15% of the total faculty and staff, whichever is the higher number. That's the required minimum to purchase G Suite Enterprise for Education. The more common option is the second option I'll explain, which is our full domain pricing. It's the same price actually. So you can purchase upgrades for all of your faculty and staff. So what do we mean by all of your faculty and staff? We mean any individual, full-time, part-time, teaching, non-teaching, senior management team, you name it, any knowledge workers, which is virtually the headcount of your learning institution, maybe minus some staff members that just have no need for the use of technology. And this is different for every learning institution, but you get an idea. So pretty much the headcount of your staff. You'd be paying €48 per user per year for those staff and faculty. And then on a ratio of 1 to 10, you receive free student licenses. So to give an example, if you had 100 staff, then you would get up to 1,000 free student licenses on that ratio of 1 to 10. So one staff licensed will get you 10 free student licenses. So that's how full domain works as well. Really, it's quite simple. The way to purchase either option is to really talk to a great partner like WizKids. You can have a conversation with them. I'm sure they'll explain how you can test the product through them as well for free. There are trials available, and then consider what's the best. But when you are considering what's the best option, you have to really think, ask yourself a few key questions. And there are a couple of resources we can share as well. You can go to the website, have a look at G Suite Enterprise for Education, and get across partial domain versus full domain. We have a page there that really demonstrates, well, what do you gain from partial domain versus full domain? The way to think about it is this. The licensed users will have full functionality of G Suite Enterprise for Education. That's the first important key aspect. So then you have to ask yourself questions like, is data regions really important for my learning institution? If it is, then we would presume that you would need all of your data to reside in Europe, for example. Maybe that's something you want. And then it would make sense to go full domain because you'd want all your staff and all of your students to have licenses attached. Maybe you want, maybe you're after advanced mobile device management. That's something that's really important to you, to roll out those policies across all these devices for your students as well. Well, then you would need to go full domain licensing because you need your students to be licensed as well. So there's a little bit to think about, but of course you have you have WizKids and Google can help talk you through the options of how that makes sense for you. And now I'm just going to hand over. I just want to say thanks again for your time. Thank you for the opportunity. Really wonderful to be here. Happy to hand back over and maybe we can take questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Simon. And også takk til deg, Arnold, for at du viste de funksjonene og hvordan man kan da bruke Sjekke. Så før vi går videre til spørsmålene, så tenker jeg at jeg har lyst til å fortelle dere også at dere har jo også muligheten til å prøve disse mulighetene som Google gir, blant annet om dere ønsker å prøve seg på G Suite, eller det G Suite Enterprise for Education, eller for eksempel om dere ønsker å prøve ut Chromebooks, eller for eksempel også om dere har noen gamle PC-er dere ønsker å gjøre om til Chromebooks ved hjelp av Neverware, så det også en mulighet. Så vi kommer til å poste denne linken her nå i chatten. Så skriv dere gjerne opp på hva dere ønsker, og så tar vi kontakt med dere i forhold til dette. Og nå har dere også forhåpentligvis også fått god informasjon om hvilke ekstra funksjoner da Sjekke kan gi, så det har vi også muligheten til å sette opp en prøveperiode på. Så da tenker jeg egentlig at jeg får tilbake både Arnold og Simon her nå. Og så tar vi spørsmål. Still gjerne som sagt spørsmål i chatten. Så får vi frem noen spørsmål her. Ja, så vi har et spørsmål i forhold til nynorsk i da plagiatrapporten. Og akkurat nå så det sånn at dette noe vi må teste ut, om den også fungerer da på nynorsk. Den fungerer på bokmål. Og så det vil vi gjerne vende tilbake til deg. Når det gjelder til i Google Dokumenter, så det jo ikke noe nynorsk der akkurat nå, men dette også noe Google kommer tilbake med informasjon om. Så forhåpentligvis så vil det også støtte nynorsk.
Jeg ønsker jeg kunne skrive på nynorsk, så jeg også kunne teste den direkte Google Classroom der. Men...
Ja, så jeg tenker også, det jo, hvis du har en nynorsk tekst, noe som vi kan prøve, så vil vi jo gjerne vise deg også om dette her går. Ja, så det vil vi vende tilbake til. Men takk for spørsmål. Det noen flere? Ja, hvis man velger å bruke det på iPads, alle appene eller nettlisten. Ja. I forhold til å bruke dette på iPad, så vil jo, i hvert fall min anbefaling, at det best å bruke appene, sånn som vi ser da når vi reiser rundt på skoler som bruker Giseffe på iPads. Men maybe also, Simon, do you want to, it's a question regarding using the applications on iPad. Would you recommend to use the applications or just the browser? And he said that the browser is best maybe if you use like a private G Suite account.
I think it's an interesting question. It really comes down to what works best for you, I would say. There are some advantages to browsers sometimes because there's not a lot of footprint from a security perspective. That's one of the advantages of a Chromebook, for example. It's difficult, but I think in either event, it's fine to use the apps because, again, let's say, for example, you had G Suite Enterprise for Education and you rolled out policies across devices, and iOS is you can roll out across iOS. Then you could control, approved apps on those devices as well. So, really depends on what you would prefer, but I think it's secure in any event.
Thank you. Det noen flere spørsmål? Som sagt, dere har mulighet til å stille spørsmål både til meg, Arnold og Simon, så nå har dere jo muligheten, så still gjerne. Vi har fortsatt noen minutter igjen. Hvis ikke så det selvfølgelig alltid mulig å stille dem senere også, men nå har dere muligheten med alle oss her live. Det jo også ettermiddag. Og flere spørsmål. Det kan jo være alt fra, det må ikke være relatert til Giseffe heller, det kan også være relatert til G Suite. Eller for eksempel Chromebooks. Still dem gjerne i chatten. Vi gir det noen få minutter, noen ganger tar det litt tid å tenke ut noen spørsmål.
She just said she's expecting delays.
Then we have a new question. Bruker de fleste G Suite Giseffe og Google G Suite for Education kunder deres Windows eller Chromebooks? Ja. Det jo også et godt spørsmål. Arnold, kanskje du også vil ha litt input her i forhold till...
Ja, så vi har haft mycket av de här frågorna i Sverige också. Nu i Sverige så börjar Chromebooks sakta men säkert bli de populära enheterna. Så den enda begränsningen som jag vet om som Google då arbetat med är den här blurred background, att det inte fungerar på alla Chromebooks. Is that true, Simon? Do you know anything about the blurred backgrounds and in relationship to the Chromebooks? Just to...
What was the specific question?
The specific question is whether the Giuseppe customers use Windows or Chromebooks.
Well, you could use Windows if you're a Giuseppe customer. You could, if you had that device enrolled, you absolutely can do that. And then you can run your Google Meet and still access the backgrounds, blur backgrounds, which is available now. So yeah, absolutely could do that through G Suite Enterprise for Education.
Ja. Så vi kan egentligen bara ge rekommendation. Vi tror inte vi har någon data direkt på hur många som använder vilken enhet.
Thank you. Tack. Ja, så det var for mulighet. Bruke det på begge. Det noen flere spørsmål? Det bare å stille de i vei.
We could have been a bit biased there and said, yeah, they all use Chromebooks.
Ja. Det kommer jo også litt an på selvfølgelig hva... For eksempel, som jeg sa, så jo en mulighet til at kanskje du har noen gamle PC-er, Windows-PC-er, som du ønsker å gjøre om til en Chromebook som går raskere og jobbe i skyen og alle disse mulighetene. Så har vi da Neverwhere muligheten til å hjelpe dere med dette, så det som sagt bare å melde seg på denne linken her, om det kunne også vært noe dere har lyst til å se litt mer på, for å teste, eller teste Chromebook, og hvordan G Suite fungerer på en Chromebook, så det også mulighet. Så skriv dere gjerne opp der. Et spørsmål til her. Det noen tekniske utfordringer dersom man bruker... Yeah, maybe you want to take that one, Simon. So if it's like a technical problem regarding G Suite, if we use SCMM device management?
So if there are technical issues, is there support? Is that the kind of gist of the question? Yeah. So there I should mention, an apology. There is additional support from a technical perspective for G Suite Enterprise for Education users. So although we pride ourselves on our customer service and support for all G Suite for Education users, there is an additional layer because we understand it's quite advanced. So you do have access to product support, and that's basically triaged depending on the need of the support. So yes, absolutely, you would receive support from product around any technical issues that you would have. We also have solution engineers on hand to advise in certain instances, to offer you some best practice guidance as well. Yeah.
I also just want to add a little bit about the WizKids services here. Provisioning as such, we don't need to follow a device management tool. We can use our scripts to follow the licenses based on users in organizational units in G Suite or Google Groups, which will be rolled out very soon from us.
Great, thank you. We have 1 minute left, so if you have some more questions, hvis dere har noen flere spørsmål, så gjerne still dem i chatten. All these languages.
Yeah, it's amazing actually.
Så vil vi gjerne besvare dem. Hvis ikke så tenker jeg bare at jeg kan få inn min slide bare her fort. Mens vi... Eller min prestasjon. Der ja, perfekt. Takk. Så vil jeg også si at hvis dere har noen spørsmål som det kanskje ikke kommer på nå, eller kommer på senere, eller noen spørsmål også relatert til disse mulighetene vi kan hjelpe til med, så ta gjerne kontakt. Bare på mail eller på telefon, så vil vi gjerne hjelpe til å besvare de. Yes. Og nå ser det ikke ut som det så mange andre spørsmål, så da vil jeg egentlig også bare si tusen takk for at dere tok dere tid til å være med på webinaret vårt i dag. Og takk for alle spørsmål, og jeg håper også at dere har fått litt mer informasjon om Giuseppe og hvilke ekstra funksjoner dette kan gi i forhold til da G Suite. Yes, so I just want to thank also Simon for joining us and Arnold for the great presentations. And har dere noen spørsmål, så ta kontakt, og så ønsker jeg dere en fortsatt fin onsdag. Ha det bra.
Thank you very much.